All right, so today we're going to be talking about some strategies that you can use at home with your student or even as a teacher, and it's reading comprehension. The very first one that we are going to do is called modeling listening while reading. So I'll be reading and she'll silently be following along, and this is a great reading comprehension strategy. World's largest seal. In the freezing ocean waters of Antarctica, the planet's largest seals make their home in a frozen world. These giants are southern elephant seals, and they can grow as long as the length of a car and weigh as much as 2 cars combined. The name elephant seal comes from both the male's enormous size and from their giant trunk-like nose called a proboscis. Females do not have a proboscis, and they are much smaller. The next strategy that we're going to do is called phase cued. And basically what that is, phase cued text lessons recognize the natural processes that occur between phrases in their reading. So here I have put lines between each paragraph. And so she's going to start reading here and she'll pause at each period, which is going to be sentences. And then also at each line that goes into the next paragraph. You could start right there and just read to right here.
In the freezing ocean waters of Antarctica, the planet's largest seals make their home in a frozen world. These giants are southern elephant seals, and they can grow as long as the length of a car and weigh as much as 2 cars combined. The name elephant seal comes from both the male's enormous size and from their giant trunk-like nose called a proboscis. Females do not have a proboscis, and they are much smaller. A thick layer of blubber keeps southern elephant seals warm in their icy habitat.
Okay, the very next one that we're going to do is summarization. And so what that just means is recall main ideas and facts. And so when you summarize, there are some things that as students, we just need to make sure that we're doing. So to teach it, and also when you're writing, you do not want irrelevant information or trivial information. Anything that's redundant, you would not want to write or keep saying over again. Maybe select topic sentences, make a list of actions, and then also invent topic sentences when none are provided by the author. So what that will look like, this very first one, so I will read it again, and normally I would tell my students that the topic sentence is normally the first sentence in that paragraph. So let's look at one that we have not done yet. So let's do this third paragraph. So in order to show you what summarization will look like, especially with the topic sentence, I'm going to read the third paragraph and then we're going to pick out what's going to be the main idea. While elephant seals spend most of their time swimming, they also gather on beaches in groups called colonies. One reason they come to land is to give birth and breed. Males arrive before females. They battle for dominance, deciding who will have large herons and females. Raising their enormous bodies, the male inflate their snouts and bellow. Usually these confrontations end quickly. However, sometimes only a physical battle can settle the matter. These fights can be bloody, but permanent injury is rare. So looking at this, the main idea of this, basically this sentence right here, this paragraph, the very first sentence says, while elephant seals spend most of their time swimming, they also gather on beaches in groups called colonies. And what else do you think would be the main idea in this paragraph?
Mainly, the first sentence says like colonization, right? So they're colonizing, they're grouping together. So this basically marking their spot on the beaches in their territory, basically. So colonization, that you can take the first sentence and summarize that. Okay. How do they colonize themselves?
Awesome. So the next one is going to be story mapping and content mapping. And so what that looks like, I actually found 2. So here is a great way to talk about setting, characters, the problem in the story, the plot, and also the resolution. And then another one is the same exact way, but it kind of gives the students questions to answer. So who are the main characters? Where does the story take place? When does the story happen? What is the problem? How are the characters trying to solve it? How is the problem finally solved? And what did the main characters find out about herself or himself? And I would say as a teacher, sometimes you got to figure out what works best for the story. Here is a nonfiction text, so it's not normally going to have a problem in the story. But if we were to go through and talk about setting, it does say that most of these large seals are in Antarctica. The characters, I guess we would just say seals. There's not really a problem in this story, but normally fiction stories will have a problem in the story and talks about how the problem was solved, which would be a solution. You can also talk about events in the story as well. So the next strategy that you can also do at home is act, retell. So it's called art, and this is how it looks. And we're going to kind of go through these questions with this same exact article, World's Largest Seal. So the first goal is to look at the title and ask myself 3 questions. So this says World's Largest Seal. So I would ask myself, what is the main topic? It's probably going to be about seals.
Yes.
What information do I already know about this topic? So I know just by what I already know is that they are very large. We normally will see them somewhere where it's very cold. What do you know about seals?
Just that males, of course, are always going to be larger than females, and they're going to always fight for territory.
Okay. So then it says, based on the title, we could write down 2 questions about this passage that I want to know or answer in the reading. So what's one question that you would like this reading to be able to answer for you?
About their basic daily living, or how they, or some traits that they have.
And I think mine would probably be about birth. Like how many do they birth at a time? Exactly where does that occur? So that can be the 2 questions. And then step 2 is, while we are reading, you want to stop at each paragraph and ask, did I just understood what I just read? And if I do understand, I mark it with a plus sign and I keep reading. And if I do not understand the paragraph, I mark it with a minus sign. And you're either going to reread the paragraph, slow down how I'm reading, focus my full attention on what I'm reading, and underline any words that I do not know and try to figure them out from my reading, like using context clues. So we're going to read another paragraph that we have not read, and we're going to do that to check our understanding. All right, you can read right here.
Females arriving on land give birth to a single pup they've been carrying since the previous year. Newborns weigh about 90 pounds. The mother nurses her pup for a little over 3 weeks. After this, she breeds with the dominant male and then returns to the sea to feed. Her pup now weighs well over 200 pounds and is on its own. If it survives, it too will enter the sea within a couple of months.
Okay. So here, after reading that paragraph, I think that we both understood it. So we will put a plus sign at that paragraph. And basically that paragraph talked about that they are carrying a baby almost as long as humans do. And then they come to land to give birth to a single pup. So that answers my question that I already had. And normally it also says that after they weigh 90 pounds, they're able to go back into the sea. So after we read, we want to figure out if we were able to answer our 2 questions. My question did get answered about the birth and how many pups they're actually giving birth to. And then her question was about daily living. Have we learned about daily living yet?
Not really. We learned a little bit about what they've done.
Okay. And so basically what you will do after that, normally you'll go back with the partner. You can discuss their 2 questions and do it the same way that we just did with multiple partners in the classroom. So the next one is something that is called CSR, which is Collaborative Strategic Reading. And so students read along silently. Basically, it's reading comprehension, and you're going to preview text, clicks and clunks, gist, and wrap it up. And so basically, this is what it will look like. And so it'll basically exactly kind of what we just did. So what do we already know about the topic? We will explain what we know about seals. And then we will make predictions about what is it that we think that we will learn just by previewing it. And when you preview, I would tell my students, just read each topic sentence to figure out what this story is going to be about. And then you can make predictions about what you think that you're going to learn. Another thing that you want to do to get the gist, basically you're going to read a paragraph and talk about the summary. Basically, when you're given a summary, you want it to be 10 words or less, and then you move to the next paragraph, 10 words or less, summarize it. And so you're going to get the gist of each paragraph as you go along. And we've already read about 4 paragraphs, and then you want to summarize it. And then at the end, and after you're reading, and I'm sorry, the gist is while you're reading. After you're reading, any questions that you may have, like one of our questions may be, what are some other things that they do for daily living that has not been presented in the story? And then you also want to review, what did you learn? So we can talk about what we learned through the story. I know one of the things that I have learned is basically how many pups that they are given, how long do they actually stay before they go back into sea. What is something that you've also learned?
We learned, of course, how males fight for space on the beaches when they come to mate before the females get there. So that was something that I learned.
Awesome. And so the great thing about collaborative strategic reading is that it's something that you do before you read, during your reading, and then also after your reading to wrap up. So the next strategy that you can also do is a map for critical thinking. I know that this is a little small, but basically what you will do is you'll identify important topics or points. And the easiest way to do that is to do exactly what we've already done through each paragraph. Talk about the important part. So the first paragraph that we read, it was about where exactly do they live. And so I would just do bullet points. Normally seals are found in Antarctica, and as we read even more, it talked about anywhere from the Pacific Ocean, from California to Alaska. So I can also add that in as well. And then you want to talk about the main idea. And another thing that you would do, the same that I've been saying, is through each paragraph you can talk about the main idea. And then you want to talk about others' viewpoints or opinions. And normally you will see that when you do a fiction story. Here is a nonfiction story. The next thing that you're going to do is reader's conclusion. So what happened at the end of that story? The last strategy that we're going to talk about is admirals in general. And basically this is improving content area. And normally you see it in math and also, well, social studies and science is normally where you see it. But you can definitely use it in any content area. And basically this is peer tutoring. And so we're going to model with this same world's largest seal activity with this paragraph, but you can do it with concepts that students may need to learn. And so basically we just want to make sure that we fully understand exactly what this paragraph is about. So it's about the world's largest seal, and basically it's called the elephant seal, and it got its name from the trunk size, and basically that's the snout. And so also, what else did we learn from this paragraph? This story.
So what we learned in this story also, that the same snout that most males have, they use that in battle when they come to land to mate with females. And so obviously the bigger the trunk, the more successful they are at battle. We also learn, of course, how they only come to the land only for mating, and also to shed when they molt their skins. Other than that, they're mostly in the sea, and they only come up to breathe briefly, and they go back underwater.
Okay, and then the reason why you would use this, let's say that I'll use me for an example because she's great with this type of stuff, is for a struggling student. So she would probably be the higher achieving student, and I would be the struggling student. And so she will basically teach me how to go through each of these paragraphs, picking out topic sentences, and being able to summarize the paragraph, and also being able to basically produce topic sentences, and also being able to summarize the story as a whole. And if it was a fiction story, maybe we would talk about the main idea, the main characters, and things like that, to basically be able to summarize the story and to make sure that I understood what the story was about. And maybe in social studies, it'll be about events that happened in history that I can understand, maybe going over timelines. In science, it may be the water cycle, things like that. In math, it can be multiplication, going over how exactly to form maybe a multiplication sentence or to do arrays. And so this can be a strategy that you use for all content. So hopefully this was helpful. Thank you so much.